Putting Regan in awkward spots is going to be the name of the game here, targeting the weakness of that Lugia V-Star and potentially even that Lugia V if you can on those early turns is going to be crucial.
Absolutely, we can see the player accomplishments there. Azul, we've got a North American International Champion, a Latin America International Finalist, an Oceania Top 8, and an Orlando Regional Champion. That's not a bad quartet of accomplishments.
Yep, Regan on the other side with that recent accomplishment there in Orlando with the top 8 finish. 2019 Seniors NAIC finalist, along with the same result there in 2022, and in 2017 was a junior NAIC champion, as he mentioned earlier on the stage.
Yeah, not too bad. Rumor has it that Regan actually has 6 international trophies. Talking to his dad before coming out, said, you know, it'd be quite nice to add a 7th. Well, the good news is there is going to be another trophy added. The real question here becomes, is it going to end up being that 1st or 2nd place trophy? Both of them are good. Both of them are absolutely fantastic accomplishments, worthy of being proud of. But let's face it, one of those trophies is a bit better than the other.
That's true, yeah. Both of these players also probably left room in their carry-on for a trophy, understanding exactly the task at hand. And sure enough, they're both here at the final stage, going to have an amazing result either way. We're excited to see what these players have for us, as it looks like Regan does have a basic Pokemon to start things off here.
Yeah, it does seem like we're going to be going any second now. It looks like Azul has got his basic Pokemon down as well. So let's put out the prizes, see if there's anything particular. Couple
Double
of scoop up nets, not ideal. 1-1 Lugia's not ideal. But I don't think there's anything there that makes me terrified. There is one Marnie in there, and it doesn't look like... Oh, actually, no, to be fair, Regan only plays a 3-2 Lugia list. So having one Lugia V-Star prized is really not ideal.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the monkey in the room there. Azul said, I hope you prize 3 Marnies. He prized 2. So that's actually pretty terrifying there. Regan's going to need to find those at the right time. And it looks like Azul also going to be starting things off here in this championship match.
Yeah, we got the Flower Select and Nev and the Comfey. We see that capture energy goes into the Lost Zone. The Lost Zone is starting to be filled up, and that's what you need. Turn 1, you're not going to get giant attacks off or anything like that. I mean, you can't attack going first anyway. What we're trying to do is build up our board, get some cards in the Lost Zone. We've got the Zero Aura on the bench. We got another capture energy actually being attached here. So there's another basic coming down, and this is pretty good for Azul. If you can get a couple of cards in the Lost Zone, get the basics out that you're looking for, that's all you can really do turn 1 going first as the Lost Box player.
Yeah, even getting this energy down onto the Zero Aura means that it will be a threat very soon. You don't need to have that Mirage Gate ready to go there, and this is exactly what Regan was fearing. Seeing that Comfey start and already going to have that Radiant Greninja ready to go, get some extra cards into the hand here potentially, and maybe we'll see that Lost Zone start to pile up.
Yeah, and we've seen this time and again, these players, they go the capture energy, and the first choice is not a second Comfey, it is a Radiant Greninja. That concealed cards ability, allowing you to discard an energy card from your hand, drawing 2 cards. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is probably the most played Radiant Pokemon, though Charizard gives it a bit of a run for its money, but it's just so good in so many decks, just to be able to draw all of those cards, give yourself that card advantage, and then you start going with your Flower Selecting Comfey as well, and hopefully... And here we go, conceal cards right away, and hopefully you can start getting some cards in the Lost Zone and some of those attackers going. And you're right, that Zera Aura is actually threatening a turn 2 KO on a Lugia V at this stage, which is really not what Regan's looking to be on the receiving end of.
Azul also there with the Manaphy early on, going to avoid any of those shenanigans that we heard of from Regan. Of course, could be using that amazing rare Raikou early on to take some additional prize cards and start to swing the prize exchange differently. Took a look at the hand here for Regan, and it's not ideal. There is a capture energy and a couple of evolution incense, but I don't think anything else really is happening here.
No, unfortunately not. So we got the Lugia there. We've got a capture energy on there. We're going to go for a second basic here. And at some point, Regan needs to get a second Lugia V this turn. We know that Zero Aura is just a lightning energy away from getting a very easy KO on a Lugia V. And it does look like that is going to be the first choice here. You can't lose your only Lugia, you know, before you've even had your second turn. And you don't really want to lose a Lugia and go down 2 prizes at all. But at least having another Lugia in the back ready to respond is going to give you something to work with.
Yeah, I think understandably Regan realizes that he's probably going to be down prize cards at some point early on in this match. And this Lugia is not going to be long for this world. As Read the Wind probably is going to be the play here, just to draw some additional cards. Hopefully make a decent hand of this for the next turn. We should see that evolution incense there, and there we go. It should be grabbing that Archeops, and then maybe you can hold on to that second one for the lone Lugia V-Star that is in the deck right now, as one is also in the prize cards.
Yeah, that's an excellent point you make. You're going to need to search out the Lugia V-Star with only one in the deck. You're probably not going to draw into it naturally, so... Oh, no, it does look like we are going for a second one already. Do you get the Lugia V-Star this early? Yes, you do. I mean, one of the things to point out here, these Lost Box decks, they're not known for hand disruption. They're not playing things like Marnie or Judge. So even though you are kind of telegraphing to your opponent, hey, I've got the Lugia for next turn, there's nothing really Azul can do about it.
Right. Yeah, it's not like he can knock out both of these at the same time, and this just means that you have one additional card that isn't going to be a Lugia V-Star that you find off of the top 3 here. So very nice choice here from Regan. And although this is not how he dreamed of things going when he fell asleep last night, he's going to hope to see some nice cards here off of Read the Wind.
Yeah, get to discard a card from your hand, which is obviously going to be the Archeops, which you want to get back with that Summoning Star ability. You draw 3. There was an Ultra Ball there at least. So there's some stuff to work with next turn. And we head back over to Azul here. And now it's going to be, I mean, honestly... Get some cards in the Lost Zone. I mean, do you want to go Lightning Energy on Zera or get a cheeky KO turn 2 here? I kind of do.
Yes, I like prize cards. Prize cards usually help you win games, and Azul does love winning. Of course, building up the Lost Zone makes a ton of sense here. Get as many cards as you can in there early on, and we will see this quick ball here also to help look for some additional friends. Already have 2 Comfeys. That's looking lovely. The Lightning Energy in the discard for the Zeroras. A little unsettling, as you'd love to have that in your hand soon, too.
Yeah, you want it in your hand, not in the discard. There are 2 in the deck, and there is a Training Court, which can obviously get it back from the discard pile. So either a Training Court or that other Lightning Energy would do the trick here for Azul. I mean, if you can get the Lightning Energy, it's quite simple. You know how you're ending the turn. So now the question is, how many cards can you get into the Lost Zone during the turn? Can you find a Chorus's Experiment? How many flower selecting can you actually pull off here? And we do see an Oranguru hitting the bench here. That is going to get you a look at a card you didn't have previously. Hopefully, it's the kind of thing you're looking for. There is that Chorus's Experiment. So come on, Lightning Energy.
Yep, we take a look. I don't see that just yet, but a couple more cards that maybe could help find some draws there. Looked like we saw a Switch card. Cramorant occasionally gets in the mix, but not this time around. And we do see that Choice Belt, which is a fantastic card in this matchup, obviously.
Yeah, Choice Belt's important. Zero Aura can take down a Lugia V pretty easily, but if you want to take down the V-Star, you are going to need to have that Choice Belt. There is the Training Core, however, so that is going to get the Lightning Energy back onto the Zero Aura, and I love this. You got 4 cards in the Lost Zone, which is a decent amount, but more importantly, you get the KO on the Lugia, you go up by 2 prizes, and this might not be how Regan dreamt of the matchup going last night. For Azul, this is probably a lot closer to the dream.
Yeah, dream scenario. The only thing that's missing is looking at Regan's prize cards and seeing the double Marnie, but yeah, I'm sure he's probably going to realize that soon, as this Ultra Ball almost has to go for the Luminion, find some help here, but this might be the lone Marnie of the game.
Oh, that's not what you're looking for. We do see a double Archeops off the Ultra Ball, which is important, of course, because that Summoning Star can now get yourself, you know, both of those Archeops back, which is absolutely brilliant. But you need something more than that. Like you say, there's not much on the board. You know, you can get your Lugia V-Star, that's brilliant. You can get your Archeops, that's brilliant. But then what happens? You know, let's say Chip is a, excuse me, Chip's rather caster. Let's say Azul is able to get an ordinary rod, get that Zera Aura back with that Choice Belt, and take out the Lugia V-Star. You need some way to respond. You need some other attackers here. So Lugia V-Star, double Archeops, great start. Then what?
Yeah, we'll see what the attacker of choice is here. Of course, having the Lugia V-Star with all of those hit points feels pretty great, but the Luminion V is certainly a target that you don't want to see knocked out anytime soon. It's a great Pokemon that can work its way into a knockout on the Zero Aura, so there is that possible attempt, but we'd love to see what's going to come about with this Marnie soon, because that's going to be very important for both of these players' hands.
Absolutely. Now, we do see the Summoning Star summoning up those pair of Archeops. That is a V-Star power used. That is 4 special energy that you can be getting every turn here. We do see a Choice Belt coming down onto the Archeops. might not be too important. You're mostly just making sure it's not in your deck, so you're going to draw better cards later on. And now the Marnie hits the board. Regan's going to get 5 cards. Azul's going to get 4. Can Regan get the advantage with this he's looking for? Because like you've said, those other Marnies, they aren't coming too quickly.
It's going to be reliant on finding some in the prize cards. Quickball going to look for some additional help here. Maybe line up a secondary attacker. Stoutland V eyed up here, and he did talk about how important it is. You can get those powerful energies charged up on it. Only going to need 3 to knock out that Zero Aura and take some additional prizes, as it only has 100 hit points.
And that is exactly what I was thinking. It's a little bit cheeky, it's a little bit big, but you get 3 powerful colorless energy on the Stoutland, you hit 100 damage, and you get to take an additional prize if you KO a basic Pokemon. So not only do you get to KO the Zero Aura, but you get to take 2 prizes. And actually, Azul has got answers for the Lugia, like the Zero Aura, but KOing the Stoutland, I mean, you can do it. You know, a Snorlax with a Choice Bout would do it, and a Dragonite would do it. But it is an awkward one to actually respond to. So I really like this play from Regan. This seems absolutely like the thing to do.
Yeah, this was pretty unrealistic to find off of the Marnie for 5. Needed to find the double turbo or the powerful energy, and then use the Archeops, both primal turbos, correctly in order to get the retreat and all these powerfuls onto the Stoutland V. Worked out perfectly here, and sure enough, Regan going to be taking 2 prize cards here and putting Azul on the back foot.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I love this Stoutland. It's another one of those cards that when it first came out, we're like, oh, it's nice, but it's too expensive. But with Lugia, so many of these cards, like Archeops, that shouldn't be good, like the Evil Tau that shouldn't be good, end up being really, really good. And we do see that Ordinary Rod coming down from us. Oh, he's thinking about it. Yeah, we do see it coming down from Azul here. And like we said, that's Zero Aura is too important here. So you want to get it back into the deck. That is a card that you don't want one use of. You want to be trying to use it more than once, but it's not going to get the Stoutland.
Yeah, it doesn't line up well against the Stoutland V, but of course, if you are thinking about some knockouts down the road there, you see that Lugia V-Star Choice Belt would be able to work in the knockout there. Lumineon V as well is a great target, but Stoutland V is worried about these Snorlax right now. If we could see that Pokemon with a Choice Belt, that would line up perfectly for a knockout there. 2 prize cards perfectly ready to go. And we're going to need to see a few more cards into the Lost Zone if we want that. Sure enough, Colress's Experiment right on cue.
Yeah, and that's going to help massively. That's going to put you up to 6. That means a single flower selecting will do it. Now, I believe there is a Choice Bout in hand. There's also a Choice Bout off of those 5 that we see from the Colress's Experiment. But it's a card which is very important. Does Azul really think he can go through the game with just 1? They are incidentally the only 2 in Azul's deck. There's only 2 copies in the deck. So it's one of those ones, you can always tell how good the Colress's Experiment is. Because if it's an obvious choice, the players just throw those 2 cards in the Lost Zone, move on with their life. But you see Azul here, there is an awful lot of thinking, but we finally make the decision. See, that's an easy one. Battle VIP Pass, that's a good one. Now we're up to 7, which is crucial because that means that Mirage Gate is unlocked. And we've seen the big sleepy boy doing some work today, and he could be coming back again.
Yeah, I'm looking to see. Oh, it's right in the hand right there. That's fantastic. A Rangaroo maybe could help out as well. Put some additional card on the top. Find a new one. And we'll see if Snorlax is ready to go there. We did see the belt along with Snorlax and the switching card. I see an energy. All we need is a Mirage Gate, and this would be fantastic.
That would absolutely do it. The combo essentially is your Snorlax. Oh, another Battle V. That's just cheating at this point.
And I think that was the Mirage Gate as well. So.
Oh, my, that was literally the perfect flower selecting. That's amazing. Sometimes you look at your opponent, you're like, how are they getting so lucky here? So you need the Mirage Gate, you need the Snorlax, you need the energy, you need the switching cards, you need the Choice Belt, and this is absolutely brilliant here. If he's got that combo, we see the Mirage Gate. Has he got the Snorlax? Are you sure he's got the Snorlax?
Yes, he's got the Snorlax. The problem is that he used the switching card to get to the Comfey. It's just the escape rope that he would have as a way to move this Pokemon, and then you're not going to be targeting down the Stoutland V anymore. So just a little bit off here, it looks like.
Yeah, and if you, I mean, you can still do it here, but for using the capture energy, then you have to, unfortunately, then have 2 Mirage Gate, which it doesn't look like he has, and you almost see the admission there. I'll use capture energy for Cramorant, you then retreat the Comfey into the Cramorant, and you can deal 110 damage. But the problem is you're then potentially letting Stoutland get a second KO, and with Stoutland taking 2 prizes every KO, this is not what you want. Azul was so close to getting that Snorlax off with the return KO, which I think would have swung, would have put him down to 2 prizes remaining, really swung the game into his favor. If he misses a KO here, and it looks like he is because there's no bench space left for the Snorlax, then that really puts Regan on the front foot instead.
Yeah, it just doesn't line up too great here. Cramorant could go ahead and get some damage down onto the Stoutland. The benefit is you're not immediately knocked out here. You do have 110 hit points, so 1 more powerful energy would be required in order to use the double dip fangs for the 2 prize cards here. We'll see if Regan has access to that, and I think Azul is just going to hope that he doesn't.
Yeah, the thing is, those powerful colorless energy are so good in some matchups here. You don't need them to get KOs. You just need them to get cheeky extra KOs or something like Stoutland. So in some matchups, you would not want to put all 4 on a Stoutland. Here, you don't mind, but it looks like we're searching the V-Guard energy. I'm not seeing the powerful colorless energy. I'm not seeing it when the deck's being fanned out. So it looks like we got the V-Guard onto Luminion. Does that mean the powerful colorless energy is prized? Is it in the hand, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like we would have seen it by now, and it looks like it is not there, so...
Got to be in the prizes. Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking for Regan, because that would put him up to 4 prizes taken, and that would be huge at this point. We do, however, see a boss's orders being eyed up there, and we do see it in the prizes. Thank you to everyone for letting us confirm that. So we are still going to see a 2-prize KO, though, and it's actually going to be on the Manaphy, which then does open up an amazing rare Raikou play, which I like very much indeed.
Yeah, that is a great way to win Pokemon. Regan over here, finding the lines with 2 more prize cards ready to go here. Poor Manaphy didn't know what hit it, as this is going to be a quick way for Regan to get down to 2, and sure enough, these prize cards line up very well after that. Azul going to try to find a way to take the knockout on the Stoutland V and then target a V Pokemon, but this basically means that Regan has a 1-turn window to try to take out 2 of these single prize Pokemon.
Yeah, but the amazing rare Raikou doing 120 to the active, 120 to the bench with no Manaphy out to block it is going to be... I mean, that's pretty much the condition. The Stoutland is going down. Stoutland is not going to be on the board for another turn. So essentially for Regan here, it is just a case of, can I find the Raikou there? And that's basically where you're looking, because as Regan is supposed to be taking single prize KOs, 1 prize a turn. That's kind of where Regan's deck comes from. Except here he's like, nah, it's all right. I'll take 2 a turn. You take 2 a turn. But I took the first KO. And you see Azul there. It's almost like he can hear us just going, yes, I know I need the Manaphy. I'm on it, guys.
Yes, it is a good card. I don't care if it gave up 2 prizes. I need it right back immediately. Going to be the only choice there off of the Ordinary Rod to put that back in. And surely that will be added soon enough. Stoutland V should be knocked out by that Cramorant, and then we go down to 2 prizes. And then Azul kind of swings it back because Regan doesn't have an answer immediately to that Manaphy.
Yeah, if the Manaphy comes down, that takes out Regan's real only choice to be able to take 2 prizes in 1 turn. And that just gives us all a turn to get a KO on the Luminion or on the Lugia, probably with the re-emergence of that Zero Aura. So you can see the way Azul's going through this game absolutely perfectly. Yes, he's given up 2 Stoutland KOs, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you give up KOs. You just need to make sure that the KOs you give up don't end up losing you the game before you've taken 6 prizes. That Stoutland can run riot, take 4 prizes, that's fine. But if Azul can slow Regan down for 1 single turn, just long enough to swing the prize race back into his favor, that is going to be enough to put in 1 game up here, and that really does look like where we're headed. But then again, Regan has surprised us before.
Looks like Azul is considering maybe even benching that Snorlax, just maybe wary of the fact that Marnie is a very strong card here, and if he could set up that final Pokemon that could take a knockout potentially on one of those 2 Luminion Vs, then he would be in a winning position. But that means that you don't have the Manaphy, and we'd have to see the Scoop Up Net in combination with that as well if you're going to get both those Pokemon into play. So it's just going to be the Mirage Gate here, lining up likely just some retreating options with Comfeys.
Yeah, and that's what we see. Energy coming down onto the Comfey there just to, Comfey's never, and that is actually the right kind of energy, but you're still not going to be attacking with Comfey. It is not an attacker. It is there for flower selecting, and those energy there are just there as pivot options. Retreat cost of 1, single energy on there. Lovely. Let you retreat some point in the future. Now, Azul here does need to be getting a KO, but remember, there is already a Cramorant on the board. It is on the bench, and the Stoutland is in range of the Cramorant. So the KO isn't the issue here for Azul. The KO is done. The issue here is trying to set up the Manaphy to, ward off a Raikou play, and also potentially setting up an attacker for next turn, although, of course, you would need to clear a bench space to do that.
Yep, if you cannot find the Manaphy, then, of course, try to get down that Snorlax, get some energy onto it, and then you'll at least have that option, potentially, to take a knockout and close out this opening game here of our championship match. But looks like it is going to be a little more drawing here with the Comfey. Maybe you could find that Manaphy here with these two cards.
Oh, it's a Battle VIP. Was that double Battle VIP pass?
It was Battle VIP and Escape Rope there.
Which, I mean, it's a nice pivoting option to potentially use more Comfey if you can get one down, but it's not, unfortunately, going to be the option for getting out that Manaphy. You need either the Manaphy or a Quick Ball. Battle VIP pass is great for getting Manaphy on your first turn of the game. After the first turn of the game, it is a card which literally has no effect whatsoever. It's great for discarding or throwing into the lost zone, but you can see this turn's been going on for a little while.
Yeah, one last chance here with the Oranguru to try to look at the top card.
Oh.
Really considering what card to leave on top, and it is a huge choice. He thinks that he's going to get Marnied immediately after this knockout here, and rightfully so. That's going to be the strategy for Regan. If you can play that card, if you do that if you hadn't already won the game with the Raikou.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, is that the Manaphy?
I think it is the Manaphy. I think he literally just hit the Manaphy.
Unreal. Yeah, this is big here.
That looked like the Manaphy on the top of his hand there, which is absolutely huge. Yeah, it is the Manaphy. He literally hit the Manaphy. It must have been off the Oranguru.
Yes, the very last option he had to find this Pokemon, and he brings it into the hand. We're going to see the Escape Rope here.
That is absolutely fantastic. I love that. It's weird, but hey, it totally works. Now, it does look like the Escape Rope is coming down. This is a little awkward because you would like to get the KO on the Stoutland here. You kind of want to be taking two prizes this turn, not just getting the Manaphy down. Now, it is the Lugia which is coming active, but right now, Azul doesn't have anything on the board that can really deal with that. You can do some chip damage to it, but you can't actually KO it yet.
Yeah, Azul's deep in the think tank trying to find out how to get out of this one here. Going to go with the double Escape Rope here.
And it's worth pointing out, yes, Greninja can do 90 to two different Pokemon, but that Stoutland has 100 hit points remaining. So the Greninja would do a lot of damage, which would be awesome, and set up some amazing Sableye plays. But it seems like what's going on here?
And Regan says, please take my Stoutland. I don't think that you have the Manaphy, and I'm just going to close out if you take this knockout.
Okay, then. Yeah, and that's the thing. Azul didn't play that, and there goes the Manaphy. And that's why you don't play the Manaphy early. You want your opponent to think you don't have the Manaphy. And, yeah, unfortunately, Azul does have the Manaphy, although I don't think Regan realizes quite how close Azul was to whiffing Manaphy. But it's all irrelevant at this stage, and this is exactly what Azul's looking for. We're going to see a two-prize KO. We've got the Manaphy on the board, and Regan's going to have one turn to try and take two prizes, and it's over to Azul, and I kind of like Azul's plan a little bit better here.
Azul looking, just trying to play every single card he can in preparation for that Marnie. Even going to use Energy Recycler for one Lightning here. Has the Psychic, but wants to leave that in the discard pile, potentially for an energy that he may need for a closing knockout. Could grab that, of course, with the Training Court if we didn't see that removed by a Pokemon maybe like that Lugia V-Star.
Yeah, absolutely. Lugia gets rid of a stadium when it attacks, but you always hope your stadium is going to stay around. Now, we do see a Sky Seal Stone coming down onto the Comfey here. We're just burning cards at this stage. Cramorant takes the KO on the Stoutland. Azul goes down to two prizes left with the Manaphy on the field. And now it's over to Regan. Must have been feeling so good on that last turn when you take two prizes off the Manaphy, leave Azul's bench unprotected. But as it stands at the moment, I'm not seeing an easy way for Regan to take two prizes this turn.
Yeah, the dangerous piece here is seeing that Luminion V on the bench, as you're not going to be able to put both of these Pokemon back into the deck. Of course, you've got a great knockout lined up on that Cramorant. Has the Marnie in hand as well, so we'll be able to cause some disruption here against Azul, but We're going to be down to the last turn where Azul's going to have a potential closeout option, and that's not what Regan wanted. He wanted to win this turn, and Manaphy said, not today.
Yeah, it's very annoying. So we are going to see the energy going on to the Luminium. We're going to see an Aqua return, which is lovely. We all like a good Aqua return. But the thing is here, for Regan, he's not winning the game. It is I'm going to get my Luminium off the board. I'm going to take a prize on your Cramorant. I am then going to Marnie you, and I hope you... And there is no attacker, let's be clear. There's no attacker set up on Azul's side of the board right now. So taking out the free attacking Cramorant is good, and you really have just got to hope that the Marnie sticks and that Azul just has nothing going on here. We do see an Ultra Ball coming down here, but it's oh, is it going to be the Pumpkaboo?
Yeah, just considering limiting all the resources here for Azul. If you can remove that training court, maybe that energy was going to be the key piece. We even saw Regan looking at the lost vacuum in the hand, and maybe that could be found off of the Marnie and remove that air balloon. That's another pivot option for that Comb Face. So really thinking of every single card here that could help limit Azul finding the victory next turn.
Yeah, I love that. And we do see the Marnie coming down, and for Regan, it is hope. I've got rid of your training court. Now I've Marnied you. You've got a new 4-card hand, which by the time you start your turn will be a 5-card hand because you'll draw 1 for turn. And then it's a case of, what do you have? Do you have any way to set up an attacker? And I'm also going to put a single prizer in the active. Obviously, it's probably going to be one of those Archeops because you don't really need 2 of them every turn now. And the question is, do you have a way to both gust and set up an attacker? It is possible for Azul, but it is actually asking quite a lot. Escape Rope's not going to do it. You need a boss's orders or something along those lines, and you need to get your attacker, which is probably going to need a Mirage Gate. It is a lot to ask, but it is possible.
Yep, just taking a look at the list, Azul does have that one of boss's orders in the deck. Of course, does have escape ropes, but plenty of single prize Pokemon are on the bench there for Regan. Thinking of everything here. Azul's going to try to draw into a way to close out. And it starts with this flower selecting.
Yeah, and you and I had the same thought. At the same time, I was looking at the deck list as well. I've been like, so how many boss are actually in the deck? Just the one. So you can have a water or a lightning energy. Presumably, you take the lightning for the Zera Aura here, so you leave that option open. There is actually the Zera Aura in hand at the moment with the lightning energy. You would still need a Mirage Gate. And you would still need that boss's orders, which is not currently in hand. So still some work to be done here. Now, it does look like we see another use of concealed cards with Radiant Greninja. And we did see Mirage Gate being pulled off of that concealed cards, which is absolutely huge. That is one of the parts that Azul was looking for. Now we see a Scoop Up Net as a pivot option. And that's going to get a Comfy in the active, but that's got an air balloon, so that can retreat. That's the boss's orders. So now it seems we've got the Zera Aura, we've got the Mirage Gate, we've got the boss's orders, we've got the lightning energy and the water energy. This is going to be enough for Azul to take this first game. You retreat the Comfy, you play the boss's orders, and Zera Aura KOs the Luminion, and Azul goes up 1-0.
That is absolutely huge there. Manaphy MVP. That's so great to see there. The Fighting Lightning getting the job done, and Azul moving on to 1-0 so far here in our championship match.
Oh, that was big. And that's the thing, right? We went into the last turn, and I literally said, it's possible, but it's improbable. And it was. Azul needed a lot of pieces to make it work. But these Lost Box decks can do that. They've got the Radiant Greninja. They've got your Comfy. And not only that, but we see stuff like Scoop Up Net allowing you to reuse a Radiant Greninja. All those pivoting options allowing you to use multiple Comfy every single turn. The Oranguru, which shouldn't work but does. And we keep saying this about these great players, but it's absolutely true. It's every little decision. It's, you know, if we go back to our first game, Azul saw the Zera Aura get KO'd and immediately put it back with the Ordinary Rod. Oh, the Manaphy gets KO'd, it gets back in with the Ordinary Rod, comes out the next turn because that is the card which is going to lose Azul the game if it's not there. And Regan played that game absolutely beautifully, but Azul basically said, look, I've got a good deck with a pretty good matchup here. I have set up well. I am not going to leave you any openings to win this game. And Regan played to his outs beautifully. Azul just didn't give him any chance to win that game.
Yeah, Manaphy is the one card that you can't really work around in this deck. Of course, if you can use that Raikou, Amazing Rare Raikou, to take the 2 knockouts early on before you see that Pokemon, that is going to be ideal. Had to put the pressure on with the Stoutland V, and then was able to remove the Manaphy, but immediately Azul bringing it right back on the very last card of the turn to seal the deal here. And we are going to see Regan starting things off here with the Lugia deck, trying to get a really aggressive opener. And maybe we can see some prize cards fall his way to start things off.
And I know,
oh boy,
3 of your 4 Aurora Energy in the prizes. That is not what Regan wants to see. That Aurora Energy isn't necessary for stuff like Lugia or Stoutland, but if you want to be attacking with things like the Amazing Rare Raikou, for instance, or, you know, maybe your Radiant Charizard is just a big single prize attacker, you need those Aurora Energy. It's not as important as it is in some matchups, because you're not going to need the Evil Towel here, but that is still not what you want to see in the prizes.
Ross, he almost can't attack with Lumineon V this game. Imagine if he loses one early or has to play it onto a Pokemon like Stoutland or Lugia.
I mean, I'm imagining it, and I'll be honest with you, Carl, I don't like it. It sounds bad.
Yeah, that is not how we want to play Pokemon here. At least we see the Stoutland V. It's a great Pokemon to use early on in the match. Take those additional prizes. You usually see that Comfey in the active spot early on if Azul isn't able to reach for that Cramorant. So decent Pokemon to have there. And the Lugia V on the bench, of course, fantastic for getting that turn 2 Summoning Star.
Yeah, and you're not so terrified about... You can still lose a turn 1 Lugia, because these Lost Box decks can really pop off and get the turn 1s there, or it's unlikely here. But here, you really want to be trying to get those Archeops in the discard, maybe get the second Lugia, and set up for that turn 2 Stoutland V. If you can take 2 prizes with Stoutland on turn 2 going first, that is going to put us all under big pressure very quickly.
This is the situation I was talking about. Ultra Ball right now, and we see the Aurora Energy is in the hand there, but the other card is a Professor's Research.
Oh no! Did we see a big search? Did Regan really look in his deck there and see that he's only got 1 Aurora Energy left? That seemed like a pretty quick deck search. I'm not sure if Regan realized he's missing 3 of the 4 Aurora Energy.
Well, hopefully he can take some prize cards first and then have access to these Aurora Energies, but there goes that Aurora. The Archeops is down into the discard pile. 1 card hand, but it's about as good as it gets as far as 1 card hands go.
Yeah, and that Aurora Energy on the Lugia does nothing. Lugia is a colorless attacker. That is as good as it being discarded, essentially, in terms of there's no Aurora Energy in Regan's deck. So now he can't attack with Lumineon or any of those other attackers that need anything other than colorless. That is something to watch. Moving over to Azul. Hey, well, look, we're flower selecting.
Yeah, that's usually how we start things off here. And Cramorant is going to go into the Lost Zone. That is a 2 of in this list, so we'll still potentially have access to Spit Innocently if he wants to. And that's just a nice way to start things off here with that Hisuian Heavy Ball. Get all that information, avoid that awkward deck search of 3 minutes that everybody hates watching, and take all the notes very quickly for us. I appreciate it, Azul.
Yeah, we love that. You don't need to search for your deck and figure out what your prizes are if you can just look at your prizes. So good work, Hisuian Heavy Ball. It's no town map, but it's not too bad at this stage. So it's all there just taking some quick notes, but that is still an awful lot quicker than having to dig through the whole deck and try and figure out what all 6 of your prizes are. So for us all here, it's kind of like, hey, can we just have game 1 again? Can we just get a bunch of cards in the Lost Zone as fast as possible? Can we try and figure out, you know, just some attackers and start rolling? 2 of the 3 Psychic Energy prize, so there is still 1 in the deck, but only 1. But Azul knows that now, so that is something to watch as we go through the game.
Yeah, we do see the quick ball there, discarding the Drapion V, Pokemon that he used to get to this point in the tournament, but does not need any longer. Gonna trade that out for the Radiant Greninja. I think that's a pretty good call.
Yeah, I like that. Get rid of the Drapion, which does nothing, or at least it's a very expensive, inefficient attacker. Get back that Radiant Greninja, and like we said in game 1, this is usually your first choice. In a lot of decks that are playing it, but especially in your Lost Box deck, you can discard an energy, draw 2 cards with that Concealed Cards ability, and that hopefully starts drawing you into the things you need to then start flower selecting, and it all tumbles along very nicely indeed. So we do have an extra couple of cards there. I didn't quite see what they were, but I think one of them is being played here. It's a Colress's Experiment. That is going to help to get you cards and to get cards in the Lost Zone.
Well, so far these are pretty good cards.
Oh, that's an awkward choice because you've already lost a Water Energy to the discard. So lost zoning one isn't ideal, but you kind of need the switch card as a pivot option. You can't get rid of the zero aura. You know,
And that's the last Cramorant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because there's already one in the lost zone. You're right. Oh, my. When you're dropping a Mirage Gate in the lost zone, you know that was an awkward choice.
Yep, I think Regan has some information here, but it's not like he can do anything with it. He's holding one card in his hands.
It's a good card, but you're right. Unfortunately, there's no choices to be made. Regan draws, and you either play the card or you just go Professor's Research straight away. Now, we do see Capture Energy with the Radiant Greninja already on the board. It's just going to be a second Comfy.
Yep, solid choice there. Of course, attaching that energy to the active, having that option to potentially pivot, get that additional flower selecting. We already see 3 in the Lost Zone, so the 4th one will activate that ability for the Cramorant to go ahead and attack for free, deal 110 damage if we can see one more switching effect.
Yeah, and it
Oh,
does look...
no. Yeah, these are tough.
Oh.
It's a Mirage Gate and the boss's orders,
Oh,
the one
no.
of boss's orders. That was so crucial last game.
And you can't drop a second Mirage Gate. Mirage Gate is too important for getting all your attackers. So it's almost like an easy decision. You have to drop the only boss's orders, but it's your only boss's orders. And if Regan knows that Azul only plays one, Regan's going to look at that and go, well, hang on a second. This changes a lot. And you don't want to drop boss, but you kind of have to. And I love getting 110 damage down, but sometimes these flower selecting, they're less fun than they could be.
Well, you need to see the Lugia V-Star here off of the Professor's Research, and we do see one. Now the next question is, can you get an Archeops into the discard pile? We see one in there already, but I don't think there's even an Archeops or a way to discard in this hand.
No, and that's awkward because this Cramorant has 110 hit points, which means that you're going to need all 4 of those powerful colorless energy to get a KO. You attach 1 for turn 2 with the Archeops. It's not possible without a second Archeops. And if you're using Stoutland to...
Oh, I think we're going to be single arc gamers here. This is tough.
Oh, we don't like this. We saw this a lot when you are when you're trying to get a second Archeops, but you have to do it for 1. That usually... the games we've seen on stream, they lose. Sometimes you want it, you're against control and you are playing a slower game plan. But if you want to and you're stuck with 1, that usually does not lead to success.
And look, if there was an Archeops in the discard pile, I think there actually was an Ultra Ball potentially in the hand there. He would have been able to reach for all of the powerful energies to take the knockout on the Cramorant. Instead, we see the double turbo attached, and we're going for a wild tackle here.
Yeah, still getting the KO with Stoutland, but if Stoutland is KOing 110 HP Pokemon, you don't want 1 prize. You want 2 prizes. That's literally why you play Stoutland. Stoutland, I mean, here you're just a less efficient Lugia because you're doing 200 and damaging yourself rather than doing 220 and getting rid of a stadium. Lugia V-Star is a better attacker than Stoutland V, but Stoutland V can take cheeky extra prizes with the double dip fangs. That's what you're looking for. So, I mean, you're a game down if you're Regan, and this is already going pretty, I mean, suboptimally is a nice way to put it.
Yeah, it looks like my eyes deceived me there. No Ultra Ball in the hand. It's pretty rough. It's going to be all about Marnie in the coming turns here, as we do see that prize card there for Regan grabbing the Marnie, which is going to have to do a lot of work here, as Azul is probably going to build a big hand and take a nice knockout.
Yeah, and here you're just free to go with a potentially second Cramorant. Now, you will have to get it out of the discard pile to use it, which you might not want to do this early, but it is at least an option. Of course, 1 we know is in the Lost Zone. So you can get a KO with almost anything here. Sableye, if you get more cards on the Lost Zone, would do it. Cramorant will do it nicely. So we do see a Chorus's Experiment, and we're going to start off here with 3 more cards to the hand, 2 to the Lost Zone, and at least there's 1 easy choice there. Yeah, no, to be fair, you can drop that second Comfy pretty easily. Yeah, as far as it goes, that's not a bad decision to make.
Another awkward part about this is the fact that Wild Tackle was used means that there's additional damage on that Stoutland V, which means that potentially a Radiant Greninja would be able to help out in taking the knockout on the Stoutland. And we could see some additional damage go on to that Archeops, which leads perfectly into a Sableye knockout. And if you remove the only Archeops, what is a Lugia deck at that point?
It's not much, I'll be honest with you, Kyle, and I love that option. I love the Greninja, you know, taking a cheeky KO and then, you know, setting up the Sableye. It's just, there's a lot of options, and that's what his Lost Box does. you're just going after so many different options. You're pivoting when you need to, but you're right. KOing the only Archeops is great here, because if a Lugia is manually attaching, like there's a big debate whether Lugia is great because of Archeops or Archeops is great because of Lugia, and I think the real answer is they're both great because of each other, but if you're trying to play Lugia without Archeops, I don't think that's a very good deck.
Well, Azul may not have the resources for that kind of play or just does not care about it. We do see the energies there for the Zeraora. Going to go down, only needing those two, and we'll at least have a nice knockout lined out on that Stoutland V. I don't believe that we saw the escape rope in hand, but if we, oh, there actually is. So you could really make your opponent make an awkward decision here. Try to go for that. I mean, you're not going to knock out the Archeops with that Pokemon, though.
No, I love this. Yeah, that would be a fun play, but I think you just get up with a Zeraora, and yeah, you can take a KO on the Stoutland here quite nicely. Or, I mean, you're not gusting, so yes, definitely going to be a KO on the Stoutland, and this is fine. Yes, the Zeraora is designed to be used to take out the Lugia, but you're up by a prize here. You've taken 2 to your opponent's 1, but that's not really why Azul's excited here. Azul's excited here because his opponent's board is not good.
Yeah, the single Archeops, nothing else going on here. Evolution Incense, there's no Pokemon you want to evolve, and there's no card you really want to grab. You're just looking to thin here if you're Regan, and he's going to go grab one of those Archeops that he wishes he had in the discard pile last turn.
Yeah, and it's such an awkward decision, like the single Archeops, because on the one hand, a lot of the time when you go single Archeops, you're going to lose the game because you don't have the resources. The problem is, in the games where you're kind of forced into going single Archeops, if you don't go single Archeops, you draw pass for a couple of turns, and you lose a little bit sooner. So it's not like these players are really choosing to go single Archeops because they want to. It is just with the hand they've got and the way the game is playing out, that is their only option. So we do get a V-Guard energy onto Lugia, or we don't. We did, but it's gone again.
Well, it disappeared, but no, we do see at least the double turbo, and I think that is a big talking point. That is going to be the second one, both now played, and the reach of this deck is so different with the single Archeops. Finding an energy from your hand every turn if you want to get to a 3 attack cost for the turn is going to be pretty difficult, and you're asking so much of Regan every single turn from this point forward.
Yeah, that is the last double turbo energy in the deck, unfortunately. So you're right, you're going to be needing to attach from the hand and go Archeops every turn here, which it is possible, it's doable. It's just really, really awkward. And Azul here has got to be feeling very, very good. Now, it seems like... Where are we going here? So we've got the Marnie coming down, and this is gonna be really important. This is a game where, even more so than in game 1, these Marnies have to stick. Because if you can KO the Zeraora, and Azul doesn't have a response, then you take another KO, and you get a turn to start setting up a Pokemon. And then, if Azul doesn't get a respond KO, you get another turn to get a KO, and get some more energy established. So here, it really is coming down to it. If Azul can respond this turn, that is pretty much going to all but lock up this matchup for Azul. But if Azul just has a couple of turns, we can't do very much, and Regan can get some KOs which are unresponded to, while getting a bit of extra time to get extra energy on the field, that is how Regan claws back into this game and gets us to a game 3, which would hopefully end up with a better start for Regan.
You're absolutely right there, and we're looking at Azul trying to see some additional resources here, has a couple decisions to make. As far as how to potentially remove this Lugia V-Star, you obviously would love to see a card like that Ordinary Rod. You could go ahead and get that Zeraora back into the deck, and maybe one of those Lightning Energies as well. I think we saw 2 in the discard pile, and this list only does play the 2 of. First, we'll see some additional cards with this Colress Experiment, though.
Yeah, we've got the Sleepy Boy coming in there. That Snorlax is there. Looks like we've got a Sableye, a couple of Scoop Up Net I think I saw in there as well. So... lots of good options there. The options to draw more cards by, starting to really cycle your Comfey there. But you've also got attackers. So you're going to have to drop... And it looks like the Snorlax is actually being dropped into the Lost Zone, of course. That is a one-off, so that's not coming back. Snorlax, he can have a bit of a nap here. He's not coming out unless we got a game 3.
Yeah, Regan using that V-Guard energy there to avoid a potential Dragonite V, along with a Choice Belt for a knockout. Instead, it has to be that Zeraora returning to the field in order to take the knockout here. So maybe Azul can have to switch things up a little bit, and he could either target down that Archeops, as we see the double Sableye. This could be a... just an attack straight at this Pokemon and the heart of the deck of all these energy cards.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going here. This is not ideal, of course. You know, when you're going Sableye, what you really want to be doing is, you know, like we saw at the end of Game 2 in the Seniors Final, taking a double KO on small Pokemon. I mean, 12 damage counters, 120 damage for a single energy on a basic Pokemon is very good, but it's far better when you're able to combine it with something else. But it looks like here, like you say, we're just going to be going after that Archeops. Now, 3 damage counters is crucial because that puts it in range of it being KO'd by Sableye next turn. So you could leave 3 on there, you could put more. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to be getting a KO here. The important thing is making sure that the Archeops can go down next turn and making sure that over the next 2 turns, the damage adds up. Doesn't really matter the proportions of what goes where this turn, as long as it all works out at the end of next turn.
Yeah, you at least need to get 6 onto the Lugia as well if you want to set up for a Fighting Lightning to knock out without the Choice Belt. So wisely, we see Azul going for that damage and then going to just spread the love a little bit and give Lugia V on the bench that extra 30.
Yeah, absolutely. And I quite like that, you know, putting the 60 on the Lugia and saying, you know what? I don't want to have to dig for a choice bout. Hey, look, now I don't have to. Now I get a KO without it, and I like that because essentially these 2 Sableye go down. Regan's got 2 prizes remaining, but in that same time period, Azul basically takes out your Archeops, takes out your Lugia, and then you're kind of left with 1 Lugia, and you're just still not that close to winning the game. And Regan is not out of this, let's be clear. If Regan can take a couple of prizes, you know, claw his way back, that is going to go a long way. And it really comes down to if another Marnie can maybe stick, if Azul can miss an attacker for a turn or 2. And for Azul, the map is quite clear at this stage. The real question is, can Regan slow down and start picking off those smaller Pokemon in the meantime?
Usually when you're playing a deck like this where you have that opportunity to spread damage, you see players not like to leave damage behind. And we see, of course, the 3 damage on the Lugia V. And this is important because this leaves an opportunity where Regan, whenever he uses his Archeops, he's going to show exactly which attacker he's focused on. And if Azul reads that without the boss's orders as it's in the Lost Zone, this means he has an opportunity to knock out the Lugia V-Star with a Zeraora. And if this Lugia V eventually evolves, the Dragonite V lines up pretty well with that. We wouldn't see the V-Guard energy anymore. And maybe Ross would get his wish granted, and we'd finally see this Pokemon do some work.
Yeah, and I love the way you just laid that out there. We got all the different attackers. Essentially, the Lugia V-Star in the active is now Zeraora's problem, and the Lugia on the bench is Dragonite's problem. Hits 250, don't need a choice bout. You hit 280, V-Guard energy's gone. So yeah, I love this, and this is what we keep talking about. Azul is lining this up perfectly. You can look at all 3 of the Pokemon on Regan's side of the board, and then you can see exactly what Azul is going to do to take each of them out. And I kind of love that.
And if Regan just decides not to show where the energies go, then Azul can go ahead and switch and use the Sableye and knock out the Archeops. And then there's not going to be enough energies for Regan to find a secondary attacker. So Regan understands this, has to show his hand a little bit, says these are the 2 Pokemon that I'm trying to win the game with from this stage forward. I know it's going to be an uphill battle, but it's a lot better than having no Pokemon ready to go.
It really, really is. So, I mean, now that would be the dream for me, frankly. If we could finally see the Dragonite coming out and it's the attack that wins the international championships, that would be kind of amazing. That'd be the culmination of my tournament, at least. That'd be my dream come true. But right now, for Regan, you're in an awkward situation. There is going to be a KO on this Radiant Greninja, and honestly, like for the next few turns, Regan is going to get KOs with these Lugia. That's not the problem. The problem isn't getting the KOs. The problem is trying to stop Azul taking enough prizes, because here, with the Stoutland gone and the Raikou not being possible because of both the Manaphy and the lack of your Aurora energy, it basically means that Regan is actually back to taking single prizes. So Azul could win this in 2 turns if he can get the right combination of Pokemon, the right resources, and that incidentally is why Regan has gone after that Radiant Greninja. He's just saying, I know you need to draw the right things at the right time to win this game, taking your last couple of KOs. Let me make that a little more difficult for you.
Yeah, this could be the $10,000 Sableye. What a fantastic play there, lining everything up here. Culver's experiment looks like it found the ordinary rod, which could help out in getting the Zeraora back out into play. A capture energy there as well, so you can immediately bring it to the field if you have that Mirage Gate ready to go. Could charge that Pokemon up and take this easy knockout here on the Lugia V.
Yeah, I love this. Both of these are actually, because the Lugia V's got so much less bulk that you can kind of go after it with either the Dragonite or the Zeraora there. Now, we do see it's a capture energy and a quick ball, I think, so nothing particularly relevant there. No awkward decisions being made. Nothing Azul isn't willing to part with. So now the question becomes, what does Azul want to attack with here? Now, we do see the Ordinary Rod. This is absolutely huge because that Zeraora is in the discard pile, and we got the Radiant Greninja coming back, and we've got the relevant energy as well. So this is absolutely perfect, exactly what Azul is looking for here, although we'll still need to get them out of the deck. Like, it's great getting them back in the deck with the Ordinary Rod. I was going to say, you need to put an energy back. We're not getting 5 cards. It's 4 maximum with the Ordinary Rod, up to 2 Pokemon and up to 2 basic energy. And now, no, we are going back to the water, and I see the decision here. There's a lot to be thought of. It's what do I actually want? Because Dragonite needs 2 water energy and a lightning, but Zeraora really needs the lightning, so yeah, it's kind of awkward, but I think Azul hedging the bets there, giving yourself the best chance to get any of these attackers rolling.
Yeah, the deck is pretty thin at this stage as well, so you think after using a Mirage Gate, playing down these Pokemon, grabbing the right cards at the right time, we'll probably have access to the rest of the deck on the potential final turn, next turn, if it is a V Pokemon in the active spot.
Yeah, I like this very much. We are going back to the flower selecting. Looks like a capture energy and a water energy. And bearing in mind, Azul did just make a point of putting a water energy back using the Ordinary Rod, so you've got to think he probably kind of wants to keep hold of that.
He wanted it to stay in the deck, but it did not, and that part is a little unfortunate, maybe wanting the ordering to be a little different. So
that's heartbreaking.
Says, you know what, I can pass on that. I still have 2 waters in the discard pile. I still have access to a way to bring those back in that energy recycler, so certainly could see those water energies come into play eventually.
Yeah, of course, they need to be in the deck to use with Mirage Gate. That Mirage Gate is a phenomenal item. Lets you accelerate 2 basic energy from the deck, but they've got to be in the deck. And we've seen, well, we saw it just then. If you draw the energy at the wrong time, that can actually really ruin your plans for Mirage Gate. Good news is, no such awkward thing with this flower selecting. The Battle VIP pass, perfect at this stage to go into the Lost Zone. And now we see another Comfey going down. There is still a bench space available, though. And it looks like the Archeops is coming active here.
Yeah, Regan, understanding that the prize exchange doesn't work well with this Archeops, says, I will give you this Pokemon. I'd really rather not lose 2 prize cards here. But I think that Azul would probably try to use another escape rope if he could find that. And just use this as a way to draw through, see a few more cards, and get the right combination together.
Yeah, another escape rope would be brilliant here, letting you KO the Lugia. I mean, assuming Regan doesn't play any more Pokemon, the KO in that Archeops is pointless. And it's not pointless in terms of shutting down your opponent's energy, but it is pointless in terms of the prize map. You've got 4 prizes to take. If you KO the Archeops, you've still just got to KO those 2 Lugia. It's not getting you any closer to winning the game in that regard. And to be honest, if Regan's not playing any more Pokemon, then that Archeops isn't really useful for energy acceleration much anyway. So a lot of awkward decisions being made here, but like you say, another escape rope would be brilliant here. Force one of those Lugia back into the active. We have seen the Zeraora hit the bench here, so the question now becomes, do we have a Mirage Gate and do we have an escape rope?
Yeah, it is 2 escape rope in the list. I'm looking at the discard pile. I think it is just the 1 there. Not sure on the count in the Lost Zone potentially, but if he does have the reach for that, then we would see a V Pokemon likely falling this turn to the Zeraora. Both of these Pokemon line up for the knockout here beautifully.
Don't think we've got it, though, because we see the Air Balloon on the Comfey, and the Sableye is just going to drop 12 damage counters on the Archeops there. And I kind of like this. You could try and get a little bit fancy and drop damage counters on the bench. But the thing is, you've got KOs lined up with your other Pokemon, and there is always a chance that Regan drops a surprise Pokemon and gets it rolling with the Archeops. Take all those options off the field. Sure, you don't need that prize, so to speak, but at least you are getting rid of some options for Regan. And this basically says now, Regan's got these 2 Lugia. They are the only thing that he's got to go through the rest of the game with.
Well, along with those Lugia, he also has a few bosses' orders, at least one more to go here, and that could potentially target down the Zeraora if he was worried about that Pokemon taking out his Lugia. There would have been some cool plays if he had cards like, who knows, maybe an Archeops to get some energies into play and to get a different attacker going, but it's going to be these 2 Lugia for the rest of the game here, so I expect to see him targeting down threats whenever possible and just hoping to buy additional turns, sort of like he did last turn.
Absolutely, and we did get a little bit of a look there. That second escape rope is actually in the lost zone, so escape rope is not an option for Azul here. They are off the table at this stage, metaphorically, of course, and that means that Azul, with no escape rope and no boss's orders, is just going to have to attack into whatever Lugia is in the active. The good news is, Azul's deck is actually really well set up for that.
Yeah, Azul is going to try to hold on to the resources of that Ordinary Rod and the Energy Recycler to try to time out the 2 perfect KOs here. If the Zeraora is able to take out the Lugia, and then you have that Dragonite to clean up any remaining Pokemon that's on the field, as Azul's already down to 3 prize cards, that would be a great way to close things out. And Regan sees a lot of cards in Azul's hands, so with the decision of either Boss or Marnie, is maybe going to go Marnie now.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Regan is clearly on the back foot here. We might be tied on prizes, but we're not this is not an even game at this stage. When you're looking at the board, when you're looking at the difference in setup, it really does seem at this stage that Azul is on the front foot. So the way you get around that is Marnie. And Marnie's not some perfect, silver bullet answer that is going to win every game, but it is something that can slow your opponent down. There is energy on the Sableye, so Azul can at least be dropping damage counters next turn, but Sableye is no longer the optimal attacker, and there's no energy on the Zeraora, and there's no Dragonite on the board, and maybe this could actually make a little bit of a difference here. Maybe this could help a little bit.
Well, gonna look at his 2 options here, and is going to end up going Marnie. A ton of cards there. Well, not a ton for Azul, but a lot of decent ones that would have probably led to a knockout. And now he's going to see 4 different ones trying to find the right mix. Needs that Mirage Gate and needs to find a secondary attacker after that Zeraora gets knocked out. Potentially by the Lugia V-Star, but this is bad. He didn't find an energy, and he's out of double turbos. So if Regan wants to have a way to use this Lugia V-Star on the following turn, he's going to have to find energy.
Yeah, he's got 2 energy on. Lugia needs 4 energy to attack. There is no more Archeops to accelerate energy. There is no double turbo energy to count as 2 energy, which means you need to attach this turn and next turn. If Regan doesn't get an attachment this turn and Azul gets a KO, Regan is literally just going to pass, and whatever Azul KOs the first Lugia with will then KO the second Lugia, and if Regan doesn't attach an energy this turn, and there is an Aurora energy there we can see in the prizes, that could actually end up being a big deal, and he didn't get the energy attachment, so here it really is all over to Azul. If we see an attack with the Zeraora this turn, I think that's it.
Yep, of course, with this Lugia turning into a Lugia V-Star, it's also going to have to include the Choice Belt to take the KO, so a little more cards there that Azul needs to find, and he's going to start things off there with the Flower Selecting. Looks like a Lightning Energy added now.
Was that a Sky Seal Stone?
Yep, that is a card in this deck, and if you have the Dragonite...
Because he's got 3 prizes remaining. If he's able to, kind of activate this and get the KO with it, then that actually would end the game right here.
Yeah,
that could be the game ender. Dragonite with Sky Seal Stone would actually do 250, which is the perfect number, and would take. And he's taken it. He's taken it off the Flower Selecting. So if we see a Dragonite with a Sky Seal Stone here, we need a Mirage Gate and another energy. That would actually be a free prize KO with the Dragonite to wrap up the tournament. And I'd finally get to see a Dragonite KO in the best possible circumstances.
Yes, we've been looking for this all weekend long, at least for Dragonite's sake. It's been a lot of Drapion doing just that. Azul counts out the deck, sees 6 to 7 cards there. Energy Recycler going to help get some energies back in. He's going to make sure to get exactly the right amount here to try to close out. Just going to count out the hand, has the scoop up net, so potentially could see a few more cards with the comb phase.
And you don't need it this turn. Like this turn, you can KO. Now, we saw that Regan whiffed the attachment. So all Azul really needs to do is attach with a Zero Aura, though, like you said, would need the choice belt to do so. If you get a KO on this Lugia, Regan basically can't respond, and you will win the game. It'll be a turn later, but that's fine. Oh, no, to be fair, there could be a Radiant Charizard. There could be a Radiant Charizard response, which would slow things down a bit. But I don't think Azul's going now. I think Azul's thinking, you know what? I've taken this Sky Seal Stone. If I can pull off the Dragonite play this turn with the Sky Seal Stone, that's it. Who needs to wait for next turn? So there goes the Bird Keeper. You get the Comfey in the active. You draw 3 cards. Are they cards you're looking for? There is a Battle VIP pass. The answer is definitely no. But it's just a little bit off screen there, and Azul's just counting up. How many cards have I got? What options are remaining in my deck? It does not have to be this turn. Azul is very much on the front foot, but there is a possibility that Azul takes a KO this turn, and then the Radiant Charizard responds with a single energy attack, and then it gets a little bit awkward. If you can finish it this turn, you want to finish it this turn.
Azul taking a look at the Psychic Energy and the Mirage Gate.
Now, we see the Dragonite is in hand, but Dragonite is specifically Water, Water, Lightning. It has to be those 3 specific cards. There is no colorless requirement. If you're going Dragonite, you've got to have the right ones. So, and it seems to, we're just looking at the deck. And that's the thing, like, what energies are left in the deck? Like, are there enough energies in the deck for Mirage Gate to actually get the value you're looking for here?
Yeah, we saw the water energies go back into the deck, but then one was drawn off of, I believe, the Bird Keeper earlier on. So maybe just 1 water left in there. That means the water would have to be the attachment. 4 cards left in the deck. Radiant Greninja going to try to help out here, drawing 2 cards of these 4.
We're not going Dragonite yet. Is there
it's the Choice Belt that could help out with the Zero Aura knockout.
And that might be where we're thinking of going here.
Ordinary Rod could get the additional energies in if, well, obviously, if you take 2 out, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So let's get a couple more in there.
Yeah. You can win this turn with a Dragonite, or you can win in 2 turns, probably with the Zero Aura. But there are no bench spaces left for the Dragonite here, so you would need to clear a bench space. I don't know if there's a scoop up net in hand at this stage. You would need that. It does look like we're going Choice Belt on the Zero Aura, so Azul does seem to be going this way here instead of maybe going for the Dragonite play. It looks like Zero Aura is the choice, at least for the moment.
Yeah, this is the typical approach that we see here. Sky Sealstone can, of course, do some wonderful things in a lot of matchups, but you don't always get to work it into a knockout on this Lugia. But we're in an interesting spot where Sableye was able to soften up these Pokemon and help out, and Azul just gonna pass the turnover here.
Oh, that is an interesting one, because Regan's only got 2 prizes remaining, and that gives an extra turn. So in theory here, Regan gets a KO on the Comfey or whatever, and attaches an energy, will have an attacker the following turn to take a KO and finish things up. And of course, there's always a possibility of Charizard attacking for a single energy, which would finish up the game, but Azul could still do the big KO with Dragonite, and maybe that's what he's thinking. Maybe he's always going, I just need to draw, like, 1 more card or whatever from my deck. So actually, let's pass over, let Regan take a KO, let Regan clear a bench space so I can play the Dragonite next turn. Maybe Azul just needs a tiny bit more, and it wasn't happening last turn, but you know Regan's not going to win this turn, so maybe just giving yourself 1 more turn and then allowing, Regan to clear the bench space for you, maybe that's the win here.
I think you're onto something there, Ross. There's not much else that I'm seeing from this standpoint. It makes a lot of sense for Azul to just leave this Pokemon in the active spot, hope that it gets knocked out, and then, of course, you can go for that big combo. We already saw the water energies. You're going to need 2 of those for the Dragonite. 1 is in the discard pile, 2 are in the lost zone. So in combination with a card like that Ordinary Rod, we could see the big knockout here for 3 prize cards on the Lugia V-Star. And, of course, Regan has to try here, going to use the Marnie and try to slow things down on Azul's side.
Yeah, we knew this coming in. You know, Azul said in the introductory interviews, like, hey, I'd kind of love it if you prize free Marnie here. That would be amazing. So, didn't quite work out, and so Azul's got time here. Like we said, there is absolutely a route whereby Azul can win on the next turn. That is absolutely in play for Azul, using the combination of Dragonite and Sky Seal Stone. But now, everything's just a little bit more awkward, and Regan's just getting an extra turn here. Now, we did see a KO by Regan on that Comfy. Does Azul have anything here? Because the problem is, Regan is going to be able to respond here. And like we said, now, there is still, we saw the last prize was an Aurora Energy. You got to imagine there's 1 left in the deck. There's 1 that Regan's got access to.
Yeah, there's a Heat Fire Energy in there, so the Radiant Charizard would be able to find an option. But I think Azul is trying to find a way to maybe close things out here. Has the second Water Energy in the discard pile, found the Ordinary Rod, and we'll see which cards get targeted now.
Yeah, and it looks like we're eyeing up the Cramorant and the Energy, or maybe just the Energy. Maybe that Cramorant is staying where it is over in there in the Lost Zone. It is the Energy, which is clearly the important thing here. It's Mirage Gate. That's what we're trying to do here, and it is kind of getting down to it. So there is the Mirage Gate. So it does look like we are going for a Zero Aura attack here. Sky Seal Stone, of course, only works when you take a KO with a basic Pokemon V. So there will be no free prize KO here with the Zero Aura. But essentially, Azul is taking the KO on the Lugia here and going, you know what, Regan? I don't think you can respond. And if Regan doesn't respond, then Zero Aura literally announces attack and Azul wins. So this is it. Azul goes down to 1 prize remaining. Regan has exactly 1 turn to mount a response, puts the Luminion in the active, which is not really what you're looking for. Does Regan have anything here? We're thinking, we're looking. I'm not seeing anything in Regan's hand here.
Regan has a way to search in the deck, that Quick Ball, and he has the Bird Keeper in hand.
I just saw that.
We could see the Radiant Charizard potentially, or honestly just any Pokemon. You could even think about stalling out at this stage if you have the right count on Azul's resources. The Zero Aura is only dealing 30 damage right now to your Pokemon that aren't Vs, and if there's no additional energies, if that Training Court that we know is the last prize card isn't there, then you're not going to see a Pokemon like that Sableye be able to take a knockout on one of the single prize Pokemon.
And I'm not seeing, I didn't see Radiant Charizard in a deck there. Maybe it was discarded earlier in the game.
Yeah, we may have seen it early on. It might just be a Pokemon like a Rangaroo, has some additional hit points.
And we know
looking at the Luminion.
And there's no option here for Azul to attack the bench, other than, you know, dropping damage counters with Sableye and trying to get that Psychic Energy, which might not even be available without the Training Court. So this is kind of interesting. There is the boss's orders. And are we going to see now, Azul has used a lot of resources, are we going to see the old school, the Gust and Stool here? Gust up something with a, well, there's nothing of a retreat cost of more than 1, but just hope Azul's out of resources? You know, Gust up the Manaphy and cross your fingers?
I think we are in stall territory at this stage. We see the Rangaroo come down here, and Regan has to try to identify how to make the percentage points start to move in his favor here. Azul playing so many resources to get to this stage. Does Boss's orders on one of these Pokemon, like that Radiant Greninja, help out here, or do you just try to absorb some of those shots from the Zeraora and stick around a few more turns?
But you then need to get that Luminion out of the active, and you can't use Bird Keeper on the same turn as you're using Boss's orders. So we would need, there is an energy in hand. Okay, so there we got the energy. There goes Yorangu into the active. There is the Boss's orders. This is one of those games where Escape Rope would just win the game straight away. There is no Escape Rope. We do see a Psychic Energy there, and then we see the retreat. We see the damage counter dropped on the Zero Aura, and Azul Garcia Griego is your 2-time international champion.
That's right, Azul GG taking it down here in Oceania, going to be our victor here. 2-0 in an amazing matchup against Regan, Retzloff, and that Lugia V-Star. And of course, the guys are going to chat about the matchup and how everything went down there. Such an amazing battle of wits between our opponents.
It got so exciting at the end there, and I'm trying to kind of get through everything fast enough, and the hand started going like, look, Ross, he's got the Sableye, he's got the Sableye, and that was enough to drop the damage counters down. Oh, I enjoyed that game greatly. We were expecting a good final here, but I was absolutely loving that. Azul played that absolutely beautifully, played to the outs, and we said earlier in the, several turns before, well, KOing that Archeops doesn't really do much for the prize map, and at that point in the game, that was true. And then several turns later, just because, Regan is forced to stall with an Oranguru, well, that opens up just a KO with Sableye to win the game, and just Azul just perfectly responding to everything Regan did. Game 2 was not what Regan wanted, but I think the real story in that final was every single time Azul had just the tiniest chance to take advantage of anything he did.
Yeah, the Sableye was absolutely key there. Being able to place the damage perfectly and then put Regan in a spot where he has to show his hand. He puts all of his energies onto the Lugias, has nothing left, and sure enough, he was able to take away the Archeops. And you're just left with some Pokemon. The one Lugia V-Star, once it's knocked out, there's no attacker left. You have to try to stall, and you're not going to see Azul lose out on a resource battle. Did everything he could. I believe only had 2 cards left in deck. It's going to be enough to close out and become an international champion once again.
And that was just absolutely brilliant. If anyone's like, well, how good do I need to be an international champion? That good. That's how good you need to be. And, that game, especially game 1, really could have gone either way. There were opportunities for that game to go in the opposite direction. There were times where Regan really had an opportunity, and it was things like having to get the Manaphy back with Ordinary Rod into the deck and then back onto the field now, this turn, or else the Raikou gives an opportunity to win the game. Oh, that's all right, I can do that this turn. And there's an awful lot of resources, and you saw, even in Game 2, there were times where Azul had to give up resources. There was no way Azul wanted to be out of escape rope that early in the game and give up your only boss's orders, but he was. So that's when you see him starting to play around with Sableye going, look, I know the big issue if I can't Gust is that you can try and throw awkward Pokemon at me, so I'm going to make all of your Pokemon in range.
Yeah, there were so many great plays throughout the entirety of the match leading up to that. In game number 1, we saw a lot of awesome moves there from Azul, trying to find options that would eventually lead to victory, and he was able to do that, just continue to put Regan in these weird positions, and there were not enough Marnies in game number 1. Sure enough, game number 2, we saw plenty of them, but the single Archeops was really the downfall there from the very beginning. Had to show his hand, play all the energies down, and there was nothing left.
And that is something we've been talking about all weekend for the whole tournament. When you want 2 Archeops and you're stuck having to use 1, you usually lose. You need those 2 Archeops. 2 Archeops opens up so many more options. And unfortunately there, once again, you're stuck with single Archeops, and it just doesn't work out. And unfortunately, Archeops come in pairs. That's just how they work.
Well, if they did, we maybe would have seen a different international champion because there was a great opportunity there early on in the second game. If a second Archeops was there, we could have seen all 4 powerful energies potentially on that Stoutland V. Instead, we saw the Wild Tackle taking away one of those double turbos, which would have been crucial later on in the game, and adding some additional damage down onto that Stoutland V. It just wasn't really working out for Regan. Tried everything he could, looked in the toolbox and said, I've got a bunch of these, but they just don't work, because Azul knows exactly what he's going to do here.
Yeah, very well put indeed. But I don't think you want to hear from us at this stage. Let's face it, we all want to hear from our new international champion, so let's go and hear from Azul.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now 2-time international champion. Give it up for Azul, Garcia, Griego. Now, with this second international championship, you are now one of just 4 people to win 2 international titles. How does it feel to be part of such a prestigious group of players?
It feels pretty good. This is my 3rd finals now, and I'm hoping to hopefully catch up to Tord, and that's kind of the goal. I got a little bit to go, but plan on going to EUIC next, so hopefully I can take another one there.
Let's talk about this tournament right now. Let's talk about that last turn of the game. So you're up 1-0, game 2, things go a little astray. Regan only gets 1 Archeops out into play, and it's that final turn. Rummy, what was going through your head as you were 1 to 2 turns away from getting that second international title?
I'm not gonna lie, game 2 was pretty sloppy on my part. I miscounted the double turbos. I thought there was only one in there, and I could have gone with the Zeraora turn earlier. I had it all. Instead, I went for the Dragonite play, and I didn't get it that turn. I wasn't able to pull together on the following turn either. But I thought that was my best bet. I was kind of scared of the double turbo just carrying my Zeraora, and I think I would be out of gas at that point. So game 2 was pretty sloppy for me. But Regan played game 1 a little bit sloppy, so I guess we gave each other a little bit of help in that set. But yeah, once the 1 Archeops came down, I was feeling pretty good. I got the early pressure with the Sableye, or like turn 2 or whatever, I think, or turn 3 I had the Sableye to pressure it, so that put me in a really good spot moving forward in that one.
So you've done it, you become a 2-time international champion, but I'm sure that's not without the help of your testing group who you talk about. Tell me what their role has been in this process to get you to this spot to win this second international title.
We all just have the same goal, which is, to push for us all to try and find the best deck. Specifically, shout out to Grant Manley, who really pushed for this kind of Lost Zone build for us to play. I had the final tweaks that obviously made the deck better, but he was the one who initially pushed for it. We were trying to make control work, and Grant was like, no, got to do it the Lost Box. And yeah, we eventually switched over to Lost Box to play for the tournament. So specifically Grant, but of course the whole team as always.
So you've taken this tournament down. You are the champion today. What is your takeaway? We've still got a few more months left in this format. You've played through all the Swiss rounds. Your deck was victorious today. What do you think's next? What do you think the meta, or how is the meta evolving, or can anything stop what you've put together here and brought to this tournament?
Yeah, the Lugia matchup is still pretty close. I don't think anything's going to change. Everyone's going to keep being a bot and playing Lugia up, but I think we're just going to see 30% Lugia for the rest of the format, and people are going to come up with little creative ways to try and beat it, but it's going to be tough. Lugia's still the dominant deck for sure.
2-time international champion. What's next for you? What is it on the checklist next that you want to accomplish as a player?
It's always just the next tournament. So Knoxville's next weekend, Knoxville Regionals, that's the next tournament to win, and then the one after that, one after that, one after that.
Well, congratulations again. You're now a 2-time international champion. Everybody, give it up for your champion, Azul Garcia Griego, one more time. Now that almost about wraps it up for the TCG side, but we're going to have a trophy.